Hello and welcome to our special global news update covering the latest developments in the escalating conflict between the United States and Iran. The war, which began in late February 2026, has quickly become one of the most serious geopolitical crises in the Middle East in recent years, as tensions continue to rise. New developments are emerging almost every day, including major military operations, international reactions, and tragic incidents involving military personnel. Recently, U.S. President Donald Trump made headlines after stating that the war would end when I feel it in my bones, a remark that has sparked debate among analysts and political observers about how the United States plans to conclude the conflict. At the same time, a tragic military accident occurred when a U.S. refueling aircraft crashed over Iraq, killing all 6 crew members on board and highlighting the dangers faced by service members involved in ongoing operations. The conflict between the United States and Iran began on February 28, 2026, when U.S. and Israeli forces launched coordinated airstrikes against Iranian military targets. These strikes were aimed at weakening Iran's military capabilities and preventing what Washington described as increasing security threats in the region. The targets reportedly included missile facilities, military bases, and infrastructure connected to Iran's defense network. According to U.S. officials, the operation was designed to reduce Iran's ability to threaten regional stability and protect allies in the Middle East. However, the attacks quickly triggered a strong response from Iran and its regional allies. Iranian-backed groups began launching attacks on U.S. interests across the region, including military installations and shipping routes in the Persian Gulf. These retaliatory strikes have raised fears that the conflict could expand into a broader regional war involving multiple countries. Since the beginning of the conflict, tensions across the Middle East have increased dramatically. Military activity has intensified, with continued airstrikes, naval patrols, and missile launches reported from several areas. The region remains on high alert as governments monitor the situation closely. Meanwhile, humanitarian concerns are also growing, as thousands of people have reportedly been killed or injured since the fighting began. Analysts warn that if the conflict continues to escalate, it could destabilize the entire region and have major consequences for international security and the global economy. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing behind the scenes, but so far there has been little indication that the fighting will stop in the immediate future. With each passing day, the world is watching closely as the situation unfolds and leaders consider their next moves in this increasingly dangerous conflict. One of the most widely discussed developments in the conflict came when U.S. President Donald Trump commented on how the war might end. During a recent interview, Trump stated that the conflict would conclude when I feel it in my bones, a phrase that many observers interpreted as suggesting that the decision to end the war would depend largely on his personal judgment rather than a specific timeline or predetermined strategy. The statement quickly spread across global media and social networks, with analysts debating what it might reveal about the administration's approach to the conflict, while the president expressed confidence that the war would not last. Long military officials have been more cautious in their assessments. Senior commanders have indicated that achieving the objectives of the operation could require extended military engagement, depending on how Iran and its allied forces respond in the coming weeks. At the same time, a tragic event highlighted the risks faced by military personnel involved in these operations. A U.S. Air Force tanker aircraft, identified as a Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker, crashed in western Iraq during a mission related to the ongoing conflict. The aircraft was part of a refueling operation that supports fighter jets and bombers by allowing them to remain in the air for longer periods during combat missions. Unfortunately, the crash resulted in the deaths of all 6 crew members on board. Initial reports indicate that the aircraft was involved in an operational flight when the incident occurred. Another tanker aircraft operating in the same area was able to end safely. Military officials have confirmed that the crash was not caused by enemy fire, and investigators are now working to determine the exact cause of the accident. The loss of the 6 service members has been described as a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers associated with large-scale military operations. Air refueling missions are essential for sustaining long-range air campaigns, but they also involve complex coordination and significant risk. Defense officials have expressed condolences to the families of the crew members while promising a full investigation into the incident. The tragedy has also renewed discussions about the challenges faced by military personnel operating in high-intensity conflict zones. As the war continues, incidents like this demonstrate that even routine support missions can become dangerous. Under wartime conditions, for many observers, the crash serves as a sobering moment amid the larger geopolitical drama unfolding across the Middle East. As the conflict continues to escalate, the human and economic costs are becoming increasingly clear. Reports indicate that at least 13 U.S. service members have lost their lives since the war began, including those involved in combat operations as well as the 6 airmen killed in the tanker aircraft crash. The toll within the region itself is far higher. Estimates suggest that more than 2,000 people have died since the conflict started, although the exact numbers remain difficult to confirm due to the ongoing fighting. In response to the growing tensions, the United States has significantly increased its military presence across the Middle East. Thousands of additional troops, including approximately 2,500 Marines, have been deployed to support operations and protect American assets and allies in the region. Military activity has expanded across several areas, with continued airstrikes, surveillance missions, and naval operations taking place throughout the Persian Gulf. The war has also had a significant impact on the global economy. One of the most immediate effects has been the surge in oil prices, driven by fears that the conflict could disrupt energy supplies passing through the Persian Gulf. Oil prices briefly rose above $100 per barrel as markets reacted to the possibility of supply interruptions. The region serves as one of the world's most important energy corridors, and any disruption there can affect economies far beyond the Middle East. Shipping routes have also experienced increased security risks, forcing some companies to alter their trade routes or delay shipments. As a result, global markets have experienced volatility, with investors closely watching developments in the conflict. Despite the ongoing fighting, diplomatic efforts are still taking place behind the scenes. Several international leaders have called for de-escalation and urged both sides to pursue negotiations in order to prevent further loss of life. However, the situation remains highly unpredictable. Much will depend on whether Iran continues retaliatory attacks and how the United States and its allies respond. Analysts also note that regional groups aligned with Iran could expand their involvement, potentially widening the conflict even further. For now, there are no clear signs that the war will end soon. President Trump's statement that the conflict will end when he feels it in his bones reflects the uncertainty surrounding the situation. Meanwhile, the world continues to watch closely as events unfold, aware that the decisions made in the coming weeks could shape the future of the Middle East and have lasting consequences for global security and economic stability.